Radiation sure has a nasty habit of turning harmless animals into horrifying abominations and harbingers of death, huh? Case in point, Mirelurks. Now the name Mirelurk doesn't actually seem to refer to any one particular species, but is instead a catch-all term encompassing a variety of different horrifyingly mutated aquatic creatures. One reason for this inconsistency in what is known as a Mirelurk could be the misinterpretation of information shared throughout the wasteland. So for example, someone from the Commonwealth may hear stories of terrifying creatures with impenetrable shells and razor-sharp claws called Mirelurks from the capital wasteland, then later go on to see this and assume it to be the same creature they'd previously heard about. And bam, now you got two different beasts with the same name. However, that's not to say that many of the creatures that share the name Mirelurk don't have quite a few things in common, but we'll get to that later. This attractive fellow here is a common Mirelurk from the capital wasteland, which they are presumably native to. These creatures mutated and evolved from horseshoe crabs, and as such are aquatic in nature and lay eggs. They prefer to live in the water, though they can breathe just fine on land as well, and can also be found to nest in cool, damp environments such as caves or metro tunnels. They possess an extremely thick, tough shell which they use to protect their vulnerable face. Unlike their ancestor, which possessed 5 sets of legs, these Mirelurks have only 1, making them bipedal, and also have 2 arms with large, powerful pincers. It may surprise you to learn that Mirelurks aren't very friendly. They're extremely territorial and aggressive and will relentlessly chase down and attack anything that nears their habitat. Their main forms of attack are, of course, using their claws, as well as headbutting, making further use of their powerful shells. The fact that they tend to stay in groups also makes them quite a problem, since you'll rarely have to deal with just one Mirelurk. On the bright side, they do have their weaknesses. As said, their face is extremely vulnerable, although being such a small target and it usually being shielded by the shell makes this somewhat difficult to exploit. Mirelurks appear to require irradiated water to survive, since several Brotherhood of Steel soldiers will comment on the fact that the Mirelurks which once inhabited the tidal basin began to die off once Project Purity was activated. And for whatever reason, white noise will kill any Mirelurk instantly. It should be noted that Mirelurk meat is highly sought after for both its nutritional value and its significantly less gross taste compared to some of the wasteland's other trademark delicacies, and it's used throughout the capital wasteland to make Mirelurk cakes. The capital wasteland is also home to a rarer but tougher version of Mirelurk, known as Mirelurk hunters. Hunters, which are 2 descended from horseshoe crabs, are very closely related to the more common capital wasteland Mirelurk, if not part of the same species. As such, they possess most of the same traits, weaknesses, and are very similar in appearance. But they still have some significant differences in that department. For one, they possess a darker reddish-brown coloring as opposed to the whitish-gray coloring of their common brethren. For another, they're bigger. Like a lot. For a third, their claws are bigger. Like a lot. In addition to their 2 main arms, Mirelurk hunters also possess another 4 smaller arms which grow out of their chest. Despite their differences though, common capital wasteland Mirelurks and Mirelurk hunters live side by side in harmony. Aww, they're horrifying. One particularly interesting variant of Mirelurk can only be found in a single specific area, the Nuka-Cola Plant in the capital wasteland. These are Nuka-Lurks. As you can see, they appear to basically be Mirelurk hunters which have further mutated due to their confinement in the plant, causing constant prolonged exposure to the radioactive isotope used to create Nuka-Cola Quantum. They have a dark blue coloring as well as glowing blue features present all throughout their body. A very interesting specimen and an extremely rare one as well. Only about 10 Nuka-Lurks exist, contained within their one and only habitat. And due to some people's incessant needs to go exploring and killing anything and everything in their paths, it's pretty likely that the Nuka-Lurks are no more. But enough fucking around, it's time to get to the really crazy shit. Say hello to the creature from the irradiated lagoon, or Mirelurk King if you prefer. These creepy looking bastards were mutated and evolved from snapping turtles. No, seriously. Well, I suppose it's not the most drastic transformation we've ever seen. But anyway, yeah, snapping turtles, not horseshoe crabs. Considering this and, well, I mean, just look at it, I think it's safe to assume these guys are not related in any way to the hard-shelled Mirelurks of the capital wasteland. The reason for them being named Mirelurk Kings, however, is probably due to the fact that they'll often live peacefully alongside the other Mirelurks, and seem to possess some kind of symbiotic relationship. They share many similar traits, including their very aggressive nature, though, then again, I guess almost everything in the wasteland is aggressive, and the ability to breathe both in and out of water. In addition, Mirelurk Kings also have some kind of ranged sonic blast attack, which can easily cripple an opponent's head. I would say that's weird, but then again, we are talking about an abomination like this that apparently evolved from a fucking turtle in less than 200 years, so I guess nothing should really surprise me. Anywho, one more thing before we move on. All the way on the other side of the country, in the Mojave Wasteland, we can find these creatures, called Lake Lurks. They too are evolved from snapping turtles, and are almost identical to the Capital Wasteland's Mirelurk Kings in every way, visually and otherwise, right down to the sonic blast attack. The most likely explanation here is that Lake Lurks and Mirelurk Kings are in fact the same exact species, just with different names, due to the absence of hard-shelled Mirelurks in the Mojave, and as such no observable relationship between the two creatures. Though that doesn't quite explain how two populations of snapping turtles on completely opposite sides of the continent, totally independent of each other, could have evolved in the exact same way. I suppose migration is a possibility, but considering the distance, I don't find it very likely. But then again, what the hell do I know? Near the Capital Wasteland is the marshy, inbred-infested land known as Point Lookout. Here we can find what appears to be a close relative of the Capital Wasteland Mirelurks, Swamp Lurks. Swamp Lurks are, once again, descended from horseshoe crabs. They're almost identical in nature and appearance to Mirelurk hunters from the Capital Wasteland, except with a greener tint and the absence of the 4 additional arms. As the name suggests, they inhabit the swamps of Point Lookout, although it's unknown if they're actually native to there. Due to their similarities, it's more likely that they were originally Capital Wasteland Mirelurk hunters who migrated to Point Lookout and adapted to the new environment. Similarly, also inhabiting the swamps of Point Lookout, we can find Swamp Lurk Queens. They are once again nearly identical to Mirelurk Kings, but with a green mossy coloration and, most strikingly, glowing yellow eyes. The biggest difference, however, is their lack of a sonic blast attack. No, instead, Swamp Lurk Queens have the ability to spit a very dangerous acid. Like with the Swamp Lurks, it's very likely that the Swamp Lurk Queen population is the result of a Mirelurk King migration to Point Lookout.